Most people don't even know that they have a low self-esteem, because some people confuse self-esteem and self-confidence. What they do not understand is that I could fake self-confidence pretty well, but deep inside, I have not met myself. So I do not have a good measurement for myself. But on the outside, I'm strong, I'm bold, all of that, simply because I am leveraging on what I may have that you may not have. You understand? For example, your boss at a place of work could be looking very confident, but if you get to know them in person, you may realize that no, all of that which was out there was just a front. Deep within was someone who didn't really love themselves. And I'm going to throw out some scenarios there so that you know where you're standing. Yeah. Hello and welcome to Tips and Secrets with me, Pauline. In this channel, I talk about relationships with yourself and with others. In a previous video, I talked about the energy we carry in our interpersonal space, and I laid emphasis on the importance of having good self-esteem. And I promised that I was going to show you how to build your self-esteem, even from a 0 point to a hero point. And today I'm here to fulfill my promise. So I'll encourage you, stay tuned. It might be a long video. In fact, it will be a long video because I'm going to try to be as detailed as possible. The approach I'm going to use would be a little different from what you are probably fond of or might have probably heard, and the reason is simple. I'm going to be taking both from the Bible, from other penned facts, and I will be taking also from personal experiences. So it's going to be a long video, but I can assure you, you will enjoy every bit of it. That said, let's get into the business for the day: how to build self-esteem. And here is how you know if your self-esteem is low. Think of those moments when you're walking, I mean, and you can feel that there are eyes on you, like people are looking. What do? You keep your head high up, or you find yourself constantly looking at your toes, like you're walking and your head is down. Or think of those moments when your friend tells you something that is beautiful about themselves, like they are, I mean, something, some achievement they are having, and they are celebrating and trying to tell you, but inside of you, you're like, huh, why is this person always like, are you rubbing it in or what? You know that jealousy? Yeah, if you're jealous, you have a low self-esteem. Another thing you want to look at is, how do you treat the people around you? When you get in, do they have a panic attack? Is everybody scared? Like there's some bosses, some supervisors, some co-workers, team members who just get into the place and the whole mood is sour. They don't see anything good in nobody. They complain over everybody. They blame everyone else but themselves. They think they're the only ones who are right. They don't think that they could ever be wrong. They live in a space of I know it all. You understand? That is low self-esteem. Another thing is someone who is very controlling and abusive and insecure, and you know, it's low self-esteem. That person who is unnecessarily submissive, that too is low self-esteem. The person who thinks that their action is just them being shy or being quiet when they are not introverts by nature, it is low self-esteem. So if you are in any of those, trust me, the list is a full one. I cannot list all of them, make the video unnecessarily long. So if you're in any of that space, you can connect the dots to the other things that you know that I have not mentioned. You know that you are having a low self-esteem. So this video is to help you build, to help you see that inner you and give it the measurement that it needs to jump out there and win and shine. Yeah. So let's get on to it. How do you build that self-esteem? Number one is identify that predominant emotion, the predominant energy that is inside your interpersonal space. Look at the things you do and ask yourself what you're thinking of at that particular point that is driving you into that action. Is it guilt? Is it shame? Is it desperation? You feel like you're supposed to have achieved something by now, and yet you have not gotten it to the point where you feel that maybe it's just because you're not deserving of it, you're not worthy, you're not. Think of that predominant energy. Is it anger? Are you bitter about something or somebody? When you get to that space where you can identify that predominant energy inside here, what you want to do next, release yourself from it. So that's point number 2. Release. And how do you release? Is to dig your way down to the very roots of it. You will find it if you walk all the way to your childhood. Why your childhood? Because that is the moment in your life where all those emotions were being embedded, either by the experiences you had directly or the judgments that you inherited from the people who raised you. I know there are people who would say that no, I was feeling okay, I was fine before. Before now, it's just because I got into a messy relationship and something. I tell you, no. If you got into a messy relationship, yeah, you might have had some issues that made you become a shadow of yourself per se, or made you start to live in total doubt and hate of who you are. But there was already something inside of you that made you vulnerable to that abuse. That same thing is connected to your self-esteem. What is self-esteem? It is your sense of worthiness. It is how you judge yourself, what you consider. It's that sense of self. And if you got into a relationship and became a shadow of yourself, it is simply because you had not met yourself. You had not yet built a sense of worthiness. You understand? You can carry on throughout your life and never ever know that you didn't even have good self-esteem until we meet until we come in contact with something that is terrible. And for most people, it has to take that poor relationship for them to really understand that, oh, I had not yet met me. So I'd met the world, but I had not met myself. And here's the thing. We are born with adequate self-esteem. It's embedded in our subconscious. It's a natural order. But if we come into an environment, that space where we are born, where we get to experience life at its beginning phase, and the people in that area do not help that natural order in us to blossom, what happens is that if they are not helping it to blossom, they are going to help it to dry out. You understand? There's no sitting on the fence. You're either giving room for something to grow, or you're starving it. And once you starve it, it's going to dry out. I'm not saying die, because those things don't really die. If you find yourself in an environment where the other thing you've gotten used to is not given the chance, is not supported, then it will also dry out. And then the other one, because if it's drying out this one, then it means it's giving life to the other one. You understand? So you want to revisit your childhood. Some people had very difficult childhoods. You understand? Some were abused, some were molested, some grew up in homes where they were never told they were beautiful. It's not like they were insulted though, but not insulting and yet not saying something. It's almost the same thing, because the person is growing without knowing the what or the why or the who. You get it? So they don't get a chance to meet themselves before they go to meet the world. And then when they're meeting the world, bam, whatever they are defining goes by it. I remember back in the days when we all thought that the beautiful woman was the one who had a bleached skin, like the fair skin. And then we had all kinds of Coca-Cola, Fanta. In fact, we were going to bleach everything out. You understand? Because we're trying to fit in. Because where we grew, where we're coming from, we had not been told or appreciated of the color. So the impression we got was, okay, to be beautiful or to be considered beautiful, you had to be light skinned. So we were all in the bleaching community. Just want to shine up a bit. I want to polish up. That's the language we use. I want to polish up a little. What happened to the natural skin? If you're bleaching it, it's because what's there, you don't feel too good about it. And the reason is simply because you're trying to fit into that public definition of beauty. And all of that is because you've not met yourself. When you meet yourself, you rock everything that it came with. That's it. You rock it. So when you found the roots, when you've walked your way down to the roots and found the people and the situations and everything that led to that judgment that you have of yourself, what you have to do is release yourself from the influence of that situation or that person, that energy that whatever happened created inside of you. You need to release yourself from it. And how do you do that? It's just one thing: practice forgiveness. You understand? You're forgiving everyone that was involved in the creation of those situations. You're forgiving even yourself for living this long and not giving your inner self a chance to shine, for being vulnerable, And then you're asking for forgiveness for having not loved yourself as you should have. Imagine you made something and the thing keeps insulting itself. You probably hit it or like, are you mad? Oh my goodness. And then when you're done with that phase, what do? This is where the building comes into the picture. So that brings us to the third phase, which is the detox. You want to uproot all that negative judgment. You understand? And replace it with its exact opposite. The reason why you're replacing with that exact opposite is because for something to dry out, you have to give it space to something that has more life. So you're supposed to be giving life to what you want so that the other thing that you do not want can starve to death. But anyway, those things don't really die. Remember what I said? They don't die. The day that you start surrounding yourself with the jargons and the junk, the good things that you plant in your head start to dry out of life. And the moment it's drying out of life, guess what? It's shrinking away, right? So the other one, it's gaining the life and expanding and coming closer and growing, taking occupying more space. You get it? So those things, energy never dies. If it was formed, if it was generated, it is there. What happens is you can drain it of its life, and then it's going to stay there like a dead plant. It can remain like that forever if you continue to feed yourself with the right things. So once you have done the detox, what do you do next? You want to rebuild a new stream of thoughts. This is the point where those affirmations, positive affirmations, will have value. You understand? Because now there's nothing inside of you that will not support its growth. So when you say something about yourself that is positive, it can sink in because inside of you there is space for it to grow. And secondly, the fact that you've cleaned up, you understand, and you've replaced that judgment. Now, when you're putting in thoughts, they're in alignment with that judgment. So the judgment is supporting the growth of those thoughts, those affirmations. You understand? So it's going to grow, and the more you do it, the bigger it becomes. The more you start to feel different. You understand? If you clean up and you do not feel with something, you are simply going to go back to what you used to know. You understand? The Bible tells us in the book of Matthew, I think the 12th chapter also, it tells us about the unclean spirit that leaves a person. It says it will when it leaves, it goes to other places looking for where to get in. But if it doesn't find a place to rest, it goes back to where it was coming. It's coming to check, to see if everything if it has space. Then it comes and meets the place is clean, it's empty, tidy and in order. It goes back and calls other unclean spirits, even worse than itself, to come and settle there. The moral of this story is, according to my understanding, is that when we clean up our minds, We have to fill it in. Your mind can never be empty. When you're done with that part, your next point is to sustain that which you have been able to build. And how do you sustain this? Become conscious of your living. Practice self-awareness and conscious living. Know what you're doing, mean what you're doing, and go for it. For your mind to stick to something new, that new thing has to have a stronger energy than what you've taken out of it. And remember that the previous judgment is what you've lived with your whole life up until this point. So that makes that old energy strong. But now, when you're replacing it, you're going to continue. That's why you need to sustain. Because as you're sustaining, you're giving that a new energy, you're helping it to expand. And that's how it becomes stronger than what you took out. And the more it's expanding, guess what's happening? The life in the other one is drying out. The impact it's having on you, it's getting to a point of zero. You get it? But you need to continue to surround yourself around the positive things. Read positive, speak positive, change your inner dialogues. Another thing you do with sustaining is meditation. It's like that thing that you do and you feel high. The good high. Yeah, but it's good. So I encourage people to practice it. I'm not talking yoga though. Yeah, I don't know yoga. I'm talking what I do. Biblical meditation is what I'm talking about. You do that every day before you set off your day and before you close it. You understand? It's that energy. It brings something. I don't know how to describe it, but it helps your inner person remain firm and stand on it. It's like it's waiting for the next day to just pop out, so that you can go do stuff. That will be it. I hope that this has helped you. And if you have any question to ask me and you're not comfortable asking in the comment section, feel free, check out Pauline Ja, written like this, on YouTube, on Facebook. Yeah, you can ask questions there. A good number of people reach out to me there. And our next topic, coming from the questions people ask me, is going to be how to get a man. How the church girl, that single person who's really single searching, but is unable to get the men are kind of, the men are not coming. Yeah. So next week, I'll be talking about how to get a man, and I will be using the Bible as my point of reference. So share this video, let it spread like wildfire, so that by next week when I'm putting that one out, you would have done your single friends a favor because they'll get to see it. Okay. Yeah. And encourage your friends to subscribe. Take good care of you and stay blessed. Bye.